History loves its generals who conquered with superior weapons. Bronze swords, gunpowder, steel armor. But what about the warrior king who built an empire by taking weapons away? This is the story of Shaka Zulu, a man who transformed barefoot teenagers into the most feared military force in African history. Not through better equipment, but through unimaginable suffering. A leader who could cover 50 miles in a single day when European armies struggled with 15, who conquered a territory larger than France in less than a decade, and who did it all by making his soldiers' feet bleed. The question isn't just how he won. It's why men followed a leader who executed warriors for wearing sandals. Southern Africa, 1816. The landscape is a patchwork of small chiefdoms, each controlling a few thousand people, locked in ritualized warfare that rarely kills more than a handful of combatants. Wars are settled through displays of courage, throwing spears from a distance, shield-bashing contests, ceremonial combat where the first side to draw blood often claims victory. It's warfare as theater, conflict as sport. Into this world steps a man who will rewrite every rule. His name will become synonymous with military genius and systematic brutality. Within 10 years, he'll unite over 200 tribes under a single banner, create a standing army of 40,000 warriors, and trigger a chain reaction of violence that will reshape the demographics of an entire continent. But before all that, he's just an outcast with a humiliating nickname, nursing a rage that will consume millions. The moment that changes everything comes not on a battlefield, but on a dusty training ground. Young warriors of the Zulu clan gather, expecting the usual military instruction: how to throw the long Ikwa spear from a safe distance, how to retreat honorably, how to survive a war that's more ritual than real combat. Instead, Shaka walks among them and does something shocking. He snaps their spears in half. Picture yourself as a child in a Zulu village, and every day begins with mockery. Your name is Shaka, which means intestinal beetle, a parasite. Your mother was pregnant before marriage, a scandal that brands you both as outcasts. The other children have a special chant for you, a rhythmic taunting that follows you everywhere. Shaka the bastard. Shaka the unwanted. This is how a conqueror is born, not in glory, but in shame. Shaka's early years read like a case study in creating a revolutionary. Born around 1787 to Senzangakona, chief of the insignificant Zulu clan, and Nandi, a woman from a neighboring tribe, his very existence is treated as a mistake. When his mother's pregnancy is discovered before marriage, tribal elders initially deny its possibility. The word they use is Shaka, an intestinal beetle they claim must have caused her missed menstruation. When the baby arrives, the name sticks. It's not a name, it's an accusation. Mother and son are expelled from the clan when Shaka is 6. They become refugees, moving between villages, dependent on charity, subject to constant abuse. Nandi is called that woman. Shaka is called worse. He tends cattle, the work of the lowest status, and excels at it. But excellence without status means nothing. Every achievement is dismissed. Every attempt to prove himself is mocked. But something is building inside him. Other outcast children might break under this treatment. Shaka hardens. He watches everything: how warriors move, how leaders speak, how power actually functions beneath the ceremonial surface. And he nurtures a cold, burning question. What if the rules everyone follows are completely wrong? His chance comes at 16, when he's conscripted into the army of Chief Dingiswayo, the most powerful leader in the region. The Iamthethwa clan runs a military organization that's impressive by local standards, disciplined, well-organized, capable of fielding thousands of warriors. Shaka enters as a common soldier, another spear carrier in the ranks. He's going to reinvent warfare itself. The traditional combat style of the region has remained essentially unchanged for generations. Warriors carry two weapons: the ikwa, a long throwing spear with a small blade, and the isilangu, a large cowhide shield. Battles begin with opposing formations facing each other across open ground. Warriors hurl their spears from 50 to 100 yards, a tactic that's more about intimidation than lethality. The shields, held in the left hand, easily deflect the projectiles. After the initial volley, if neither side retreats, warriors engage in individual combat. Shield bashing, wrestling, attempting to get inside each other's guard. First blood often ends the contest. Casualty rates are minimal. Wars can last for years, with total deaths numbering in the dozens. To everyone else, this is just how war works. To Shaka, it's insanity. Why throw away your weapon? Why fight from a distance when you're weak at range? Why carry a spear designed for throwing when you could redesign it for close combat? Why retreat when you could annihilate? Shaka begins experimenting. He works with the clan's blacksmiths, pestering them with modifications. He wants the blade wider, much wider. The shaft shorter, much shorter. He wants a weapon that can't be thrown, that forces you to close with the enemy, that can punch through a shield and the body behind it with a single thrust. The blacksmiths think he's crazy. Chief Dingiswayo, however, is intrigued by this intense young warrior who thinks differently from everyone else. The weapon Shaka designs is called the Ikalwa, an onomatopoeia for the sucking sound it makes when withdrawn from flesh. The blade is 18 inches long and 2 inches wide, leaf-shaped, designed to create massive internal damage. The shaft is only 2 feet long, forcing close-quarters combat. It's not a spear anymore. It's a short sword, a stabbing weapon, an instrument of brutality. But a new weapon alone doesn't change warfare. You need new tactics, new training, a completely different type of warrior. In 1816, Chief Dingiswayo is murdered by a rival. The assassination creates a power vacuum. Shaka, now a respected military commander, returns to the Zulu clan. His father is dead. Through political maneuvering and intimidation, Shaka claims the chieftainship of the Zulu, still a minor clan of perhaps 1,500 people. It's a tiny kingdom. He's going to turn it into a war machine. The first thing he does is abolish sandals. Imagine being a young Zulu man when Shaka takes power. You've just been conscripted into what you assume will be the usual military service. Some training, some ceremonial duties, the occasional ritualized battle. Instead, you're ordered to remove your sandals and throw them on a pile. Warriors who protest are immediately executed. Those who comply are then ordered to march, and march, and march, and march. Shaka's military revolution begins not with weapons or tactics, but with feet. Traditional warriors wear sandals made from animal hide, sensible protection for feet that will walk across thorns, rocks, and scorching ground. Shaka declares them forbidden. Every warrior will toughen their feet until they're like leather. Anyone caught wearing sandals during training will be put to death. The logic is ruthless, but undeniable. Sandals wear out. They need replacement. They slow you down on certain terrain. They create dependencies. Bare feet, once conditioned, are faster, more sensitive to ground texture, and require no supply chain. But the conditioning process is agony. Training begins with forced marches across the most punishing terrain Shaka can find. Thorns, sharp rocks, sun-baked earth that burns like coals. Warriors' feet bleed, swell, crack open. Infection is common. Some men cannot continue. Those who fall behind are clubbed to death by officers as an example. The message is clear: adapt or die. There is no middle ground. Shaka marches with them, his own feet bare, proving it can be done. This is crucial for his authority. He doesn't demand suffering he won't share. Within months, the survivors have feet like hardened leather, able to march 50 miles in a day without injury, a pace that would cripple a European army and outstrip any regional rival by a factor of 3. But speed alone doesn't win wars. You need discipline, cohesion, and a tactical system that maximizes your advantages while exploiting enemy weaknesses. Shaka creates a training regimen that transforms civilians into warriors in a way the region has never seen. Every day begins before dawn with forced marches. Then, combat drills. Hours of practice with the ikoulwa, learning to thrust from below the shield, to use the shield's edge as a weapon, to move in coordinated units rather than as individuals. Sparring sessions using sticks instead of blades. Brutal enough that injuries are common. Traditional warfare is individualistic. A warrior seeks personal glory. Individual combat, one-on-one contests. Shaka makes this mentality punishable by death. His warriors fight as units. The regiment is everything. Personal glory is nothing. The man next to you is more important than your own life, because the formation is what keeps everyone alive. He organizes his army into amabutho, age-based regiments of men who train together, live together, fight together. Each regiment has its own barracks, its own unique shield pattern, its own identity. Competition between regiments is encouraged, but within each regiment, cohesion is absolute. You eat together, you sing together, you die together. Then comes the tactical innovation that will make the Zulu army unstoppable, the buffalo horns formation. Traditional battles are straightforward affairs. 2 lines of warriors face each other, throw spears, engage in individual combat. Shaka envisions something far more sophisticated. His formation has 3 components: the chest, the main force, several thousand warriors in dense formation, shields locked, ikoulwa ready. This force engages the enemy head-on, fixing them in place. The horns, 2 fast-moving flanking forces composed of the youngest, fastest warriors. These units sprint around the enemy's sides while they're locked in combat with the chest, encircling them completely. The loins, a reserve force that sits with their backs to the battle, unable to see the combat, and therefore unable to become excited and join prematurely. They're held back for the decisive moment, or to prevent enemy breakthrough. It's a pincer movement, an encirclement tactic that the Romans would recognize, but deployed with a speed and precision that's unprecedented in the region. Traditional armies march 10 to 15 miles per day. Shaka's horns can cover 50 miles, appear where they're impossible, and close the trap before the enemy realizes they're surrounded. But even the most brilliant tactics mean nothing if your warriors won't follow through. Shaka's final innovation is the most brutal: the killing imperative. In traditional warfare, warriors who show courage but retreat honorably face no punishment. In Shaka's army, any warrior who returns from battle without blood on his ikoulwa is executed. Not wounded, not captured, executed by his own officers in front of the entire regiment. The message is unambiguous: you will kill, or you will be killed. There is no honorable retreat. There is no ritual combat. There is only total annihilation of the enemy. The first time Shaka deploys his new system in 1817, it's against a neighboring chiefdom that's been raiding Zulu cattle. The enemy has no idea what's coming. They arrange themselves in traditional formation, expecting traditional warfare. They throw their spears. The Zulu chest absorbs the volley behind their shields and keeps advancing. The enemy is confused. Why aren't they throwing spears back? Why are they getting closer? Then the Zulu chest hits like a hammer. Close quarters combat. Ikoulwa thrusting beneath shields. Warriors trained to kill rather than posture. The enemy begins to buckle. They try to retreat. That's when the horns complete their encirclement. The enemy force is surrounded, compressed, systematically slaughtered. No prisoners are taken. No quarter is given. Women and children of military age are absorbed into Zulu society. The rest are killed. The chiefdom ceases to exist. Casualty ratio: approximately 50 Zulu dead, over 1,000 enemy killed. Word spreads like wildfire. A new kind of war has come to southern Africa. Over the next 3 years, Shaka conquers steadily outward from his Zulu heartland. Each victory swells his ranks with conquered warriors who are given a choice: join the Zulu army or die. Most join. Why wouldn't they? Shaka's system is clearly superior, his army clearly unstoppable. Better to be on the winning side. The military innovations keep coming. Shaka introduces a communication system of runners who can relay orders across 50 miles within hours. He creates supply systems that allow his army to operate far from home without foraging. Each warrior carries dried meat and grain, resupplied by dedicated logistics regiments. He develops intelligence networks, using scouts and spies to understand enemy capabilities before battle. He also introduces a peculiar military custom, ukuzumba. After each battle, the entire victorious army engages in a ritual of washing their spears, meaning they must find and kill any surviving enemy. No wounded left alive, no refugees escaping. Total annihilation. It's psychological warfare as much as military doctrine. Enemies must understand. Resist Shaka, and your entire people cease to exist. Submit, and you can join the most powerful military force in the region. By 1820, Shaka controls approximately 11,500 square miles and commands 20,000 warriors. He's no longer a minor chief. He's a military dictator whose very name causes panic. But the speed at which he's moving creates a cascade effect that will reshape the entire subcontinent. Tribes fleeing from Zulu expansion collide with other tribes, creating a domino effect of warfare and displacement. This period becomes known as the Mefakane, the crushing, or the scattering. It's a humanitarian catastrophe triggered by Shaka's military success. An estimated 1 to 2 million people die, either in wars with the Zulu, in wars fleeing the Zulu, or from starvation and displacement as agricultural societies are destroyed. Shaka doesn't stop. Can't stop! His entire system is built on conquest. The army must be fed. Warriors must be rewarded with cattle and glory. Tribute must be collected. Enemies must be destroyed before they can organize resistance. It's a machine that only runs in one direction: forward. By 1824, Shaka's territory has expanded to roughly 80,000 square miles, about the size of Great Britain. His army numbers 40,000 warriors, organized into 40 regiments, capable of mobilizing for campaigns with 48 hours' notice. He's created the largest and most powerful centralized state in sub-Saharan Africa, and he's beginning to change. The man who once fought alongside his warriors now sits on a throne. The leader who shared their suffering now demands absolute submission. The military genius is becoming a tyrant. The year is 1827. Shaka's mother, Nandi, dies. What happens next reveals the monster that genius and trauma have created. Nandi was the only person Shaka truly loved, the woman who protected him during his childhood exile, who believed in him when no one else did, who lived to see her outcast son become the most powerful ruler in the region. When she dies, something breaks inside Shaka that never repairs. He declares a year of mourning and makes it mandatory. Warriors who don't cry convincingly at Nandi's funeral are executed on the spot. Hundreds die. Shaka orders that no crops should be planted for a year, causing predictable famine. He demands that no milk be consumed, a devastating order in a cattle-based economy. Pregnant women and their husbands are killed because new life is insulting to death. Sexual intercourse is forbidden. The killing becomes random, irrational. Anyone who seems insufficiently devastated is put to death. It's estimated that 7,000 people are executed during the mourning period. This is no longer strategic brutality. This is a breakdown masquerading as grief. The man who redesigned warfare cannot process personal loss. The leader who demanded discipline above all else has lost control of himself. His advisors are terrified. His warriors are confused. The machine he built so carefully is beginning to crack. The military system he created contains a fatal flaw. It's completely dependent on his personal authority. There's no succession system, no institutional structure beyond Shaka's will. Everything runs on fear and respect for one man. And that man is visibly unraveling. His half-brothers, Dingain and Matlangana, begin plotting. They're not motivated by ideology or reform. They're motivated by survival. Shaka has become unpredictable, paranoid, dangerous even to his inner circle. The question isn't whether someone will kill him. It's when. But even in decline, Shaka's strategic mind produces moments of clarity. He meets European traders in 1824, the first sustained contact between the Zulu and whites. He's fascinated by their technology, particularly their muskets, but unimpressed by their military capabilities. He watches a demonstration where British traders fire at targets. The accuracy is poor, the reload time lengthy. Shaka has warriors demonstrate the Ikluwa. In the time it takes to reload a musket, a Zulu warrior can close 100 yards and kill multiple opponents. He's right, tactically, but he's wrong strategically. He doesn't understand that muskets will improve, that European military power is backed by industrial capacity and global resources that dwarf anything Africa can muster. He sees the tools, but not the system behind them. In September 1828, Shaka orders another military campaign. His warriors are exhausted. The constant warfare, the paranoid executions, the economic disruption from the mourning period, morale is at an all-time low. This campaign feels like madness, not strategy. Dingain and Melangana decide it's time. On September 22, 1828, as Shaka meets with a delegation at his capital Bulawayo, his half-brothers and a small group of conspirators approach. Shaka is unarmed, unusual for him, perhaps a sign of his declining paranoia management, or perhaps he simply can't imagine anyone would dare. They stab him multiple times with Ikluwa, the weapon he designed, turned against him. According to oral histories, Shaka's last words are not defiant or philosophical. They're a question. Are you stabbing me, kings of the earth? You will come to an end through killing one another. It's a prophecy and a curse, and it comes true with remarkable accuracy. Shaka Zulu reigns for only 12 years. In that impossibly short time, he transforms a clan of 1,500 into a nation of 250,000. He creates military innovations that military historians still study. He triggers demographic changes that reshape the entire southern African region. And he does it all starting with a simple, brutal idea. Make your soldiers' feet bleed until they become weapons themselves. The immediate aftermath of his assassination validates his dying curse. Dingain takes power and immediately murders Melangana. Can't have co-conspirators around. Dingain proves to be a competent but uninspired leader, maintaining Shaka's military system but lacking his strategic vision. The Zulu kingdom remains powerful but stops expanding. Then come the Europeans, not as traders but as colonizers. The British invade in 1879, 50 years after Shaka's death. The Zulu army, still using Shaka's tactics and weapons, initially defeats them at the Battle of Isandlwana, one of the most humiliating defeats in British military history. But British industrial capacity and modern weapons eventually prevail. By 1887, Zululand is annexed as a British colony. Shaka's military innovations outlive him by decades. The buffalo horns formation is studied in military academies. The concept of total warfare, annihilating enemy societies rather than just defeating their armies, becomes tragically common in modern conflict. The idea of conditioning soldiers through shared suffering becomes a staple of military training worldwide. But the question remains, was Shaka a military genius or a monster? The answer, frustratingly, is both. He revolutionized warfare through understanding that most military limitations are psychological rather than physical. Soldiers can march 50 miles barefoot. They just need to be forced past the point where they'd normally give up. Armies can move with unprecedented speed. They just need supply systems and discipline. Enemies can be completely destroyed. You just need to remove the cultural prohibitions against total war. These insights are brilliant. They're also horrifying, because implementing them requires a level of brutality that destroys the humanity of everyone involved. The Zulu warriors who could march 50 miles barefoot could do so because those who couldn't were murdered. The discipline that made them unstoppable came from terror. The speed that won battles created a refugee crisis that killed over 1 million people. Shaka demonstrated that, with enough ruthlessness, a small, marginalized group can become a dominant power through military excellence alone. But he also demonstrated the limits of that approach. Military power without political sophistication, without economic development, without building something sustainable, it's just organized violence that eventually consumes itself. His story raises uncomfortable questions about the nature of greatness. Can we admire the tactical genius while condemning the humanitarian catastrophe? Can we study his innovations while acknowledging the suffering they caused? Is it possible to be a transformative historical figure and a brutal tyrant simultaneously? The modern Zulu nation, numbering over 12 million people, grapples with Shaka's legacy constantly. He's a symbol of resistance against colonialism, proof that African military systems could defeat European ones. But he's also a reminder that pre-colonial Africa wasn't a peaceful paradise. It had its own conquerors, its own atrocities, its own complex moral landscape. Perhaps the most important lesson from Shaka's story is this: innovation without ethics is just sophisticated destruction. He proved that hardened feet could outmarch any army, but he never asked whether winning every battle was worth losing your humanity. What do you think? Was Shaka Zulu a military genius who deserves admiration despite his brutality? Or was he simply a talented warlord whose innovations don't justify his methods? Could his military system have been implemented without the mass executions and total warfare? And what does it say about us that we're still studying and sometimes admiring leaders who built empires on systematic violence? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this deep dive into one of history's most controversial military leaders compelling, subscribe for more stories about the figures who changed history, for better and worse. Next week, we're exploring another leader who revolutionized warfare through suffering. The story of how Napoleon's army marched 1,000 miles through Russian winter, and what it reveals about the limits of military discipline. History isn't about heroes and villains. It's about understanding how humans push past every limit, and what we